Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of the WGSN-DB Going Solo Veterans Corner. And I'm your host, retired Army First Sergeant Paul Holbert. It's good to be here with you this evening, and I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight on the show. Before we get started, I want to take just a moment, as I always do, to thank our two wonderful sponsors. Of course, first we have Quest Jewelers of Merrifield, Virginia. And I always tell everyone, call Pete, call Wantane, talk to them, tell them what you need. Valentine's Day is coming up, folks. So now's your chance to shine and get someone that you love that special something, because they do custom made jewelry pieces as well. And you can see questjewelers.com. You can give them a call or search the website and they'll be able to hook you up. I also want to thank Nationwide IT Services. NIS is a service-disabled, veteran-owned 8A small business located in Fairfax, Virginia, and CK Park and his professional crew of business representatives there can help you with whatever your business needs are, whether it's a 360 assessment, surveys, training, IT development, whatever you need, his company can help you. So give CK a call and he'll hook you up with his crew and they will take care of you. So we want to thank both of our wonderful sponsors that help our veterans show. So I want to get into tonight's program and as we do, I want to introduce first Charisse James. Charisse is a board member of DOVE, which is the Donor Outreach for Veterans. And Charisse is one of the founding members and a board member of the organization, DOVE. And we also have tonight one of the donors who has hooked up with the organization and so willingly donated an organ to a needy vet, Denise Brownlee. And Denise, if I'm not mistaken, you were a military mom, weren't you?
Yes, our oldest and our youngest son are both Marine veterans.
Okay, all right. So, and we're going to talk some more with Denise as we go through too, and find out about her experience with the program and her take on the program. But first, I want to welcome both of you ladies, Charisse and Denise. Oh, this is going to be fun. Charisse and Denise. It's like twin sisters or something here. So we're going to have fun with those names tonight. But I want to welcome you both to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you know, it's wonderful that you can take time to spend sharing the information about the DOVE program. And I kind of want to piggyback on something here, and let me just share this with the audience. The goal of DOVE, of course, the Donor Outreach for Veterans, is to find, educate, screen, and support prospective living donors and match them to a veteran awaiting a transplant. And I mean, you talk about how important something like this can be, because we all know there are people in need of transplants all over the United States. But to have an organization that tends to concentrate now on assisting veterans who are in need of transplants is really something else. And I know, Charisse, from looking at the website, that it takes approximately 3 to 5 years normally for someone to get a kidney donation. And there's somewhere in the neighborhood of about 2,000 veterans at any one time looking for some type of organ donation. Is that right?
Yes, and that time frame is they're waiting for a deceased donor, not necessarily a living donor.
Yeah. Yeah. So Charisse, if you would take a few minutes and take us through how you got involved in DOVE and what you guys are doing. And of course, Denise, feel free at any time to chime in and add what you see as well. But go ahead, Charisse, share with us how you got involved and what the DOVE organization is doing.
So back in January 2017, I was a social worker at the VA in the Bronx. And during that time, Sharyn, who is the founder of DOVE, came on as administrator. And at that time, she came on as administrator for kidney transplants, of course, for veterans, because we were at the VA. So at the time, I was a I was working with veterans with mental health. So I came over to work with veterans on the medical side and worked with Sharyn. So myself, Sharyn, some surgeons, a few nephrologists, some medical assistants, we got together and made the 7th kidney transplant program in the country for veterans amongst the VAs, the only one in the Northeast. So that was a big deal. And while I was just working as a social worker and just kind of seeing the impact that donors and recipients receiving, it was just amazing. It was a blessing, you know? So when I decided to, now I live in California, I no longer work in New York City. I still wanted to have a connection to that community and that population, even though I don't work for the VA anymore and I'm not working necessarily in kidney transplant. So a bunch of us all kind of went our own separate ways as far as career-wise, but we still had this connection with kidney transplant. So when Sharyn got us together and said she was gonna basically be the founder of the Dove program, because she realizes a need, we all agreed there was a need, because working at the VA, we saw that there was a need not only for kidney transplants and some other medical conditions. So we all basically just said, hey, Sharyn, you know, what do we need to do? Whatever assistance we can give you, we're going to go from there. And that's what we did. And part of what we did was we set up connections with all VA centers, all VA medical centers, even if they don't do kidney transplants. But if they are, if they have veterans in the vicinity, in the area awaiting a deceased kidney transplant, we basically speak for the veteran and try to find a donor for the veteran. It doesn't have to be someone related. What we have found is a lot of our donors have donated kidneys to veterans that they don't even know. On some situations, a veteran they met the night before, they donated their kidney. This is not a paying position for any of us. This is just volunteering. And me being now on the West Coast, I can now kind of bridge over to the Midwest and the East Coast to ensure that everyone knows that Dove is here. Dove is the voice for veterans awaiting transplants, because it's hard to ask for help for anything, let alone an organ. So we're here to do that. And we're also here to ensure that not only with the donations from kidneys, but just some financial donations or just spread of mouth is covering the travel expenses for both the donor and the recipient, and the assessments, and ensuring that just everyone is safe, not only the recipient, but also the donor. And what we are learning is that donors and recipients are now becoming families, because you're giving a lot of veterans some more time in life. And it's the way of the donors, giving back. And like Denise will probably speak on, just having that connection, just giving back to veterans who've given so much to all of us. I mean, that's kind of the least that we can do.
So, and I like that, because, while there are so many veteran service organizations out there, the way you guys have focused on something that's so important. But I just want to ask Denise too. Denise, being a military mom and having sons in the Marines, and, my wife and I had one of our boys serve in the Marine Corps as well as the Army. If you would share with us for just a moment how you came to Dove. How, was it something you felt because of your son's service, or how did you get involved?
Well, the interesting thing is I heard a number of years ago that you could donate a kidney to somebody in need. And I thought at that point, wow, if I ever knew anybody that needed one, I would do it in a heartbeat. That could have been 10 years ago. Never, heard of anybody, never even gave it any more thought. Back in February of 2022, I received a Newsmax magazine. And I just flipped through it, and by golly, there was an advertisement for Dove in there and told the whole Dove story. And it was and I hadn't thought about donating my kidney, I can't tell you, for years. And I saw that, and it just like, oh my gosh, I have to do this.
Yeah.
So I got online and I filled out the form, and Sharyn emailed me the next day or called me, I can't remember. And then we just set up a Zoom call on that Friday. I hadn't even told my husband at that point. And so when I talked to her, and she's like, well, what do you think? I said, well, I want to go through with this. So I said, let me
Yeah.
talk to my husband. And that was that. So, and the rest is history. And I want to say my father is an Air Force veteran, and my father-in-law is an Army veteran too.
Yeah.
So, but it was just a beautiful thing. I love the whole idea of just having that, Sharyn calls it the community based donation. And what better group, to donate a kidney to than veterans. I mean, I would have done it even if I didn't have, veterans in my family or our son's veterans. But still, I love the whole concept, and that's how I got started with her.
So what did your boys think?
Oh, my whole family was super supportive. I mean, my husband was even more supportive than I anticipated. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
good.
no, it's been great. Everybody's been very supportive.
Yeah, I mean, this is such a wonderful thing, I think, that you guys are doing, and I know that looking at your website, you guys have a number of sponsors that assist you with different things, and I think that's wonderful. But Charisse, if you would take a few minutes and tell our audience how the program works. What is the process? Denise just talked about, she saw the information in a magazine article and contacted Sharyn, who we missed tonight. She wasn't able to be with us, but so if someone is interested and they see that information, what do they do? What's the next step for them, Charisse?
Once they go to the Dove website, there is a form, and like Denise said, we'll get back to you, if not the next day, the day
Yeah.
after, to basically give you some more information about the Dove program, and give you some time to, like Denise said, talk to your family, talk to your husband,
Mhm.
just ensure that your family's on board, with this decision. And when everything's on board, we try to match basically the kidney. Once you go through assessment, of course, to ensure. So Denise had to go through some assessments to ensure
Yeah.
that she was safe to be able to donate an organ, a kidney, I would say. So she went through that process. And then we see what recipients we have kind of, I want to say, in the pool, kind of waiting for a kidney. And if she becomes a match, we basically confirm travel, when it's going to be done, things of that nature, where it's going to be done, what facility, and it's magic. And then after that, like I said, I'm pretty sure Denise is like family with her recipient, because after that you come so close, so it's not a long process.
Yeah.
If it's something that that recipients are on board in doing, there's just some steps, and all of us with Dove are there to answer any questions, to be supportive through that process. So all of that is done even before you step into a hospital to get an assessment, or a medical center to receive an assessment. Denise, would you like to add, was there anything else that I didn't include during that process?
It can be a long process. Sometimes you have to kind of just, keep, stay forward with that. But yeah, it was pretty much, Sharyn was great. She got back immediately, and things happened rather quickly as far as that. And then, she does kind of ask you, what you might kind of be looking for in a recipient, or, what kind of ideas. Mine myself was, I had the idea that I would like to donate to someone that was still parenting children. So, and there's a whole long story that kind of entailed with that. But yeah, so eventually the the woman that I had given on behalf of, because we actually ended up doing a swap with ours. So Chiquita didn't actually receive my kidney, but I gave on behalf of her, and we went into the National Kidney Registry, of which they found a kidney for her and a recipient for me in about a week and a half. And that was a miracle right there. So she and I got to meet each other. I went to Walter Reed and she went to Walter Reed Military Hospital. And yeah, we met that night before my kidney, I went into surgery at 4:30 in the morning and she received hers. Mine went out to Minnesota, to the Mayo Clinic, and her kidney came from somewhere in New York. And her surgery was at like, I think 5 o'clock that night. So yeah, so we do stay in touch. So,
Yeah. So I guess, ladies, either one of you could answer this, but so you have some sponsors, you take donations. So do those donations also help the family with, I think, Charisse, you were mentioning possibly with some travel expenses and different things to help with the process?
Yes, because generally the recipient and the donor have a support person. So we like to ensure that travel expenses, whether it be hotel, whether it be airfare, train, whatever the travel distances are covered. That's also including, if possible, meals. And yeah, that's basically all like covered. Denise, did it cover any other expenses? Were they covered with you?
I think a lot of it depends on where you're going. Walter Reed covers a lot. The military hospital is great. I originally was going to donate to a person in Texas, or got all the way out there and things just kind of fell apart there. But there was also a program called NALDAC, National Living Kidney Donor Assistance. And they actually provided funding for that, too. So there's a variety of different places. And then being that we went into the National Kidney Registry, if you end up going through that, National Kidney Registry also has some funding. But because I was covered underneath Walter Reed, and their funding that the government has, that we didn't, really need to do that. So yeah, I think from my understanding, the Dove is kind of like a blanket, just to kind of cover what they need to, if it's not found in other fashions and other ways to do it. But I think between the different hospitals and the different organizations and the government, hospitals, it really depends. But yeah, I really didn't have hardly any expenses come out of my own pocket for that.
Yeah, I think this is a good.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say this is a good opportunity to make the point that, you guys are actually part of the combined federal campaign, the CFC, as it's well known, and that people listening or people all over can actually donate directly to Dove through the CFC, which I think is really important.
Yes. That's what I was going to add, because that happened right before the week before Veterans Day, this past November. We got cleared to that. So that was, just another way, to be able to donate federally.
Yeah. And one thing I did also want to say is that Sharyn has people, she's a great support person, but things are kind of growing so big she can't, she needs help in that. But she has people that have previously donated that are actually supporting those of us that were in it. I had Haley, she would kind of, I'd touch base with her if I had questions and things. Now I can do that for somebody else, being that I have already been through that process. So Sharyn is great. She just loves to try to give as much support emotionally and whatever she can do. It's not just financial, because this can be a little bit of a daunting process, even as a donor, the process, to go through and the follow up, and you have to be sometimes proactive and call the hospital or the facility, whatever you're going through, the center you're going through, and say, okay, how's it going? What next? Yeah. So you have to be a little proactive.
Well, let me do this. First, I want to say hi to Reginald for being able to join us. Thank you. I'm glad you were able to make it. We've been talking just a little bit about the program itself and how it works. And so, Reggie, if you'll hold on for just a minute, everybody, we're going to take just about a 2-minute break to recognize our sponsors. And when we come back on the other side, I want to get Reginald involved in this as a veteran recipient so we can find out a little bit more of how this worked with himself and how it worked with Denise as a donor. So we'll be right back after a sponsor recognition. All right. Welcome back, everyone. And you've been listening to the WGSN-DB Going Solo Veterans Corner. And we have our guest tonight, Charisse, Reginald, and of course, Denise. And we're talking about DOVE, the donor program for veterans. And I think we'll get Reginald on here again here pretty quickly. I think there's just a little glitch with his camera. But I wanted to continue on and talk a little bit more about your experiences here. And when we get Reginald back up, hopefully we'll get him involved in this too. But Denise, if you would, tell us a little bit more about your experience through this. What did it mean to you? Was it, I know you talked about wanting to, always donate a kidney or donate an organ, but I would imagine maybe was there a soft spot because you did have sons in the military, and what was this whole thing like for you in that respect?
Right. Well, like I said before, even if I didn't have sons in the military, I still would have done it. I think it was just knowing there was a place to go to do this. I guess most people, you think, well, they didn't wanted to know if I donated something to my family. I'm like, no, I didn't know. Or they call us altruistic donors. It's because we don't know who the recipient really is going to be. It's not a family member. It's not a friend or anything like that. So Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just always felt if I could save the life of someone by donating a kidney, I would do it in a heartbeat. I guess it was just never a no-brainer for me. But the icing on the cake was just finding an organization like Dove that I could do it and give back to a veteran. And it was just the fact that I, have two sons and, a father-in-law was, I don't know, it was just all, just kind of a beautiful thing. And it took me almost 9 months from the very start to share actual donation day to get it done. I had a lot of hurdles to get through to kind of get to that point. But and Sharyn, we were always checking in, and I remember one time she said, Denise, I think some people would have given up by now. And I kept telling her, I said, Sharyn, I am bound and determined this is going to happen unless they medically do not say we cannot take you. They went to start to do genetic testing on me. That's how far this had to go. And so they finally, cried uncle and let me give my kidney. But I told her I didn't care how long it was going to take. I was bound and determined to do this, and unless they absolutely said that no. I mean, you have to have perseverance. But I think that's where the support of Sharyn and others through the Dove process and is great, because you can help encourage people, and Reggie can talk about the whole recipient side of it, but to encourage people along the way to stay in it, stay engaged. We're still, because Sharyn even had me doing some phone calling of recipients, that are still waiting, and just letting them know we're still here. We're still working. We're still trying. We haven't forgotten about you, because I can imagine they feel forgotten when they haven't had any phone calls for a while from anybody. And Sharyn's really big too. It's not just Dove. She really encourages the recipients to can maintain their own Facebook, maintain their own contacts, Dove is just a part of their process of helping to find a donor, and that too.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's from your perspective, I know it was a bit of a process, but Reginald, I want to welcome you and thank you for being able to make it. Looks like you're in your car somewhere, huh?
Yeah, I started a part-time job. I was off, and they called me in.
Oh
And
no, that's
so,
fine. I'm just glad you were still able to make it. So you were a veteran recipient in the Dove program. What branch of the military were you in?
I was in the Army, sir.
Okay, all right. I'm going to tell you, just like I used to tell my soldiers, I retired as a first sergeant, so you don't have to call me sir.
Oh,
You would remember the old adage, you don't call me sir, I work for a living. Remember that? Yeah, there you go. So Reginald, thank you so much for joining us. And we've been listening to Charisse tell us about the program, and Denise was sharing her perspective from the donor side. How was it for you as a veteran, in need of a kidney, to find the organization and go through the system with them, to finally, get a transplant?
well, for me, I didn't know about Dove until like December of 2021. So I didn't know, and I was going to Walter Reed as one of my sites, trying to obtain a kidney. And one of the nurses there told me about the program and gave me the website. And I called, got in touch with Sharyn, and she kind of, coached the process. But from a veteran perspective, it's very difficult trying to get a kidney. And I was determined, because I felt like I was too young to, just call it quits. Um,
Yeah.
and I was like, you know what? And a lot of soldiers or veterans don't know, every list that you're on is independent from all the other lists that you may be on. And when I first initially got on the list in Augusta, the doctors there told me it was an 8 or 9 year wait period, you know,
Ooh.
and I was like, no, I don't want to wait 8 or 9 years. So I reached out to Walter Reed, and then I got in touch with the VA. And you kind of pick wherever you want to go. But the point is, I've advocated for Dove for the reason that it's much quicker and you get a better donor. You get a better kidney per se. And I did 3.5 years on dialysis.
Mm,
I tell you, it was tough because I
yeah.
felt myself, slowly slipping away. Although I've talked to other people at the center, and they proudly say that I've been at the center for 18 years or 15 years or whatever. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. That's why I, was proactive looking for different centers that would accept me. And, I went through a lot of hurdles just trying to get medically cleared, because if you're not medically cleared, then you got to address that issue. They don't tell you, you can't, get back on the list, but you got to, clear those hurdles that's impacting, your ability to stay on a donor list. But I do advocate for Dove for the simple reason is that they got all the questions, and they assist you through that process. And just like um, the lady before me was talking, I couldn't get her name.
Denise.
Denise. Okay,
Yeah.
the process I am just as frustrating because you want a kidney, and trust me, most veterans like myself, we ask any and everybody who will do it. And it's like you're saying a bad word for most people. So I am thrilled and overwhelmed for people like you, Denise, and my donor Tara, to make that sacrifice for somebody you don't even know is
Yeah.
it's just beyond belief to me. And if you would have asked me, you know, 5, 6 years ago, would I donate? I probably would have said no. You know, and not because I didn't know. I wasn't educated enough to know that it's safe. Has really no impact on your life. You still gonna have that same longevity. So now I'm at a different perspective. Because of what I've gone through. But you know, I just admire folks like her. And I think if we get the word out more that hey, it's safe to give a kidney, and
Yeah.
save a life, because that's what I believe every transplant is saving and prolonging a life is just remarkable, And I just my hats off to anybody who would consider doing
Yeah.
it, and
I guess
especially
one
doing
thing.
oh
Yeah. Well, I guess one thing I read you kind of reminded me a little bit of it. I mean, I'm a big advocate of Dove also because I'm a firm believer that there are more people out there like myself and the rest of the donors that would do this if they only knew. If they knew of the opportunity, and I always tell people, Americans love their veterans. I mean, they love their veterans.
Mm,
Americans across the board, I say as a whole, they do. And if they only knew that there was an opportunity to do this, I think more people would step up. And I think as Dove is finding out, as the word is getting out there and people are understanding the need that is there. But I also think a really big key thing is you can get on Sharyn's website, on Dove's website, you can
mhm.
look at faces. I
Yeah.
think it's one thing to say you can make that connection with another human being. You can talk about all the people in the world that are on dialysis, but whenever you see a man or a woman's face and say this person, and a little bit of their story, there's that personal connection, and they're no longer a number or a statistic, they're a human being. And I think, honestly, I think that has a lot to do with people feeling the connection with this. And number one, knowing that it's a possibility to do it and you can live a perfectly healthy life after, kidney donation, but just to see what the impact that you can make, you can literally save another human being's life. And
Yeah.
there's no greater joy, I guess, I think myself.
And And to piggyback on that, it's not only saving a veteran's life, you're saving the veteran's family's life, because especially, just veterans with kids, maybe they be younger or older, especially some of the older children who aren't matches for their family members, or they're not healthy enough to donate. It just comes full circle, and you hear from a lot of recipients, and maybe Reggie, you can piggyback on that their lives changed, not just because that kidney was there, but their lives, their interaction with family members, friends, all that just changed in a positive way.
Yeah. And from my perspective, I felt like I was in a bad accident, and I was, barely holding on to life. And, this since this transplant, I'm just feeling so great. I thought I was feeling great when I was on dialysis, especially the days I didn't have to go. But, I'm able to work. I'm bored. I've done 20 years in the military, and I did 20 years as a civil servant, working for the Army and Navy.
Mm-hmm.
I still want to give back, 'cause I've been charged for 41 years, and I'm like, well, I can't just sit home and do nothing. I feel like I did when I was 20. I feel that great, I got more energy. I'm like, finished my wife's honey list, so that's why I like, okay, I'll just go and do a little something. And like I said, life is just grand, and I made a great connection with. We talk, at least 2 or 3 times a week, because she's just a beautiful person, and I just love being around her and hearing her story, and she's just a blessing. And my family has fell in love with her, so we, it's, like you said, it just didn't impact me, it impacted, my family members. I got 2 girls and 3 grandkids that love me to death, and I love spoiling them. So it's just not just she made that big difference in my life and my family's life. So yeah, I mean, kudos to every person that's willing to do it. And just like Denise said, I believe if more people knew the story and the impact, you know, they'll have a better, I think, attitude toward giving and saving a life. Because as a veteran, we do, you know, uh, go to bat for every American in this country, and you never know when it's your turn. But you do it. It's your turn. Because I was supposed to go to 3 wars while I was on active duty, and I didn't hesitate. I didn't try to get out of it. I was like, my country needs me. I'm gonna step up and do what I need to do. Unfortunately for me, I didn't get to go, but I was willing to go. Because if my number was called. Um, but I did support the troops, and I did it. Even when I got out of the military, working as a civil servant, I made sure the war fighters got the things that they need in battle. So I was a contracting officer. So I did do my part. Because I took it as, hey, that might be me. That might be my brother. That might be somebody I know. I looked at the job, from that perspective. Because our troops need the best, and they deserve the best. And I just appreciate everybody that's willing to step up and save a life as well, doing their part to protect this country.
Reggie, I just want to piggyback on that very quickly, and then I'm going to ask Charisse to share a story that we kind of just found out about today before we close. But you know what, I got to tell you, Reggie, my hat's off to you, having to go through what you did. But as a fellow veteran, a career Army guy, and now just finishing up a career like you did in civil service this year, I'm finishing it up. That's one of the reasons why you still have that feeling like you want to give something back. So I can understand that. My hat's off to you, because that's one of the reasons why I do this show. It's my way of being able to give something back still at this point. So I can completely understand that. And I want to thank both you, Reginald, and Denise for coming on the show and sharing your story about Dove and how it's impacted you. And Charisse, before we close, I want to give you an opportunity here to share with everyone a story that we were talking about a little earlier that just came out today, as a matter of fact.
Before I start there, I just wanted to say that
Yeah.
the Dove Board of Directors and Advisory Board, our goal in 2022 wasn't to have more than 20 kidney donor transplants like performed. We had over 20 in 1 year that we were a part of to coordinate. And that just doesn't happen. So the word is getting out, we just want it to get out more because like everyone here said, if everyone knows, if everyone is knowledgeable, they'll be more willing. Yeah. Okay. So with that being said, I know, Paul, you mentioned the CFC. So a couple, maybe early November, Dove was cleared to be part of the CFC, for donations. And of course, that was going into Veterans Day. So the AVS team, I reached out to them and asked them if we can do something for Dove now that we've been cleared as a federal, can be donated through the federal system. So they did a story on Dove. Just to be honest with you, when these stories come out, a lot of times, or these flyers, people just skim through them and delete them. I'm actually going to read some of this veteran I'm going to talk about, some of his service to the government, whether it be in the military or working for the government. So at this time, Mr. Frederick saw the flyer, and before he deleted it, one thing that caught his eye was basically waiting for a kidney, veteran credits recent flyer story for connecting him with Dove. Okay, so this is a gentleman who devoted his life to military service. He was active duty in the Army from 1982 to 1986, then served 26 years in the Army National Guard in Arizona and California before moving to Indiana. He retired as a full-time technician from the Indiana Army National Guard in 2013, and then joined the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, right after that in 2013, the end of 2013. So he saw this flyer about the CVS. It caught his eye. And the reason why it's caught his eye is because he's on dialysis. He was diagnosed in 2017 with kidney disease. It was something that was genetic. That his father and great-grandfather both passed away from. He was on multiple lists, like Reggie mentioned, but was just basically told that he was going to have to wait for a deceased donor. But that also panicked him because he said, once he got a call that there was a match for a donor, he would have to get to that hospital immediately to get it done. It could not be scheduled. So what he did is he reached out to me through the FAA, and I sent his information to Sharyn. Sharyn got in touch with him. They talked a little bit, and I asked if we can run another story on just how running the flyer in November, that we had a military veteran and an FAA employee who was also, wanted to know more about Dove and also wanted to be on the on multiple lists and get the word out himself. So we ran his story this morning to all FAA employees. And part of his story was basically saying that he wants to be able to travel again to his wife's home in the Philippines. And he wants to be able to live and not have to schedule his days on the days he's not doing dialysis. So his story ran almost 8 a.m. this morning. We have 3 potential donors already from the FAA, and that was at 9 something. I'm not even sure now, but that's what I'm saying, getting the word out. And He's in Indiana. I'm in California. I'm not sure where the other potential donors are, but also even if they aren't potential donors for Mr. Frederick, they can be potential donors for others and be part of the Dove community and be part of this organization. So that was really exciting. And I was just like, whoa, that happened fast, you know? And of course, Mr. Frederick is excited because he was told he would have to wait 3 to 5 years. And already within 2 months, he's already got 3 potential donors, and this can happen. And he can live his life that he wants to live with his wife and travel and things of that nature. So that was very exciting.
Yeah.
Right. I saw that when you were telling me about the story and you sent me the link, I went, holy cow, I mean,
Yeah.
so it's important to make sure the audience knows, and CC, thank you, has put up the information about the Dove organization, the website, the number, email for the audience out there. If you get a chance, make sure you get out there and take a look, because they can use all the help that they can get. So as we close, though, Reginald, I'm going to give you, I think you wanted to say something. I'm going to give you the last word here as we get ready to close. What was it you wanted to share?
I was just wanting to say that was an amazing story. It kind of reminded me of another guy named John Anderson out of Ohio. He ran a commercial with Dove being the biggest high point of it. And he received a kidney almost identical. So I just wish that we had enough funding so that we can run weekly or monthly ads like that for different veterans, so they can get the word out to folks, so that they can potentially get a life-saving transplant. And trust
And
me, my life
and
completely changed since then.
Yeah.
and the donations, if someone cannot donate a kidney or financially they're not able to donate, it's word of mouth. I have an 18-year-old daughter. Dove has an Instagram account. She shares Dove stories. So at least,
Yeah.
she's a freshman in college. So that's being shared with not only the students, and I'm pretty sure the students' family, things of that nature. So we all know that America kind of runs on social media right now.
That's true.
So even being able to share on that, if you're not able to donate anywhere else, that still goes a huge way. And of course, we love that. That's very helpful to our organization.
And
Well,
most of
yeah, I want to tell all of you, though, Charisse, you and Sharyn and the others, it's great. Thank you for all the work you're doing with this, and Denise, the donors who are willing to get out there and help our veterans out, and then of course, Reginald, you as a veteran, thank you for your service, and the fact that you were able to benefit from this program. I think it really speaks well to the whole program. So I want to thank all of you for coming on the show and sharing your stories and the information on there. And for the audience out there, please take note of the information for Dove, the website, the phone number, and the email there that you can contact. Go take a look at the website. I did. You're right. The pictures on there, kind of bring it all home. So again, thank you all for sharing tonight. I really appreciate you being on the show. And for the audience, for those of you out there, thank you for watching the WGSN-DB Going Solo Veterans Corner. I hope that you as all of our veterans out there, we want to thank you for your service. We hope that you're living your best life, and check out our Going Solo network on the web for more information about not only my shows, but other shows that are on the network. So thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you on our next show.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.